Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at a new book. Let me just do that sound check. Make sure everything is good to go. See, there we go. Got that alert. Cool, perfect. Now it's working. Nice, nice, nice. Let me just also do this one last update on the reading we just did. That was on the complex PTSD we did. And ironically, I had planned to go to this book, a new one, in any case, but I didn't plan on the reading to go like so seamlessly over into this topic here. And the reason why I said that is because the last reading that we just did from complex CPTSD, from the surviving to thriving, the healing or somatic healing, they were talking directly about the work of Alexander Lowen, because Alexander Lowen is the body armoring that was discussed in that section. That's coming from this doctor here, Dr. Alexander Lowen. So that's where all of this stuff comes from. So I thought it was kind of funny. Oh, now we're coming to this section. And so, as you remember from the somatic healing section, they were saying when you go through these traumatic experiences, let me slow down my talking, especially from a traumatic childhood, your body has all kind of reactions, right? So if you're familiar with Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps the score. Body armoring is when your muscles are staying tense because you're expecting threat. If you're expecting people to judge you or to criticize you or to be mean or demean you, or if you just don't believe that the world is a safe place because your parents or family did not respond to you enough as a child, even as a child, your body begins to kind of like lock down like this. So a lot of people have tension, in your back. It can go in different places of your body. It depends on the person, how their physiology is, how tall they are, how heavy they are. All of those different things also matter. But you're going to see some impact in your body. This can also come up in the form of IBS, so the people who have digestion issues. A lot of this is also carried over from stress and anxiety, from fear that has not been addressed or released. It literally can cause those problems, from eczema, skin. So there are so many problems that it can cause. And the armoring that we discussed in the last reading is what Alexander Lowen is talking about, that becomes the basis of the personality over time as you have those repeated experiences. Because then once your parents treat you that way, your body has then responded maybe by like locking your shoulders up because you feel stressed because your mom is always judging you. So then your shoulders start to get tight. And then what happens, you go out into the world, people see the high shoulders. They don't know why, but they see the high shoulders. They treat you in that way, and then they get more tight. So that's how you fall into this pattern. And that's why sometimes it can be like a little bit tricky to change until you gain the perspective of what the fuck is going on, and then begin working with your body to kind of loosen that up again. Why they said massage, qigong, um, any kind of physical activity that's going to help you start to break away from that is really going to be a great step you can do for yourself. And so now, as we're going on to this book, The Fear of Life by Alexander Lowen, we're going to be reading from the beginning. It's called The Neurotic Character. Or actually, maybe I'll start from the introduction. There's a quote here from Sophocles. I'll leave it up in case you guys want to pause it and read it in your own time, but then I'll also read it to you. I don't know. I think you can guys see that. What a thing is man. Among all wonders, the wonder of the world is man himself. Yes, wondrous is man's sagacity. Through this he climbeth on high. Through this, although he falleth, in the confidence of his power he stumbleth. In the stubbornness of his own will he goeth down. This is by Sophocles, Antigone, a play, I believe. Going on to the introduction, neurosis is not usually defined as the fear of life, but that's what it is. A neurotic person is afraid to open his heart to love, afraid to reach out or strike out, afraid to be fully himself. We can explain these fears psychologically. Opening one's heart to love makes one vulnerable to being hurt, reaching out to being rejected, striking out to being destroyed. But there's another dimension to this problem. More life, or feeling that or feeling than one is accustomed to is frightening to the person because it becomes um, I'm going to start over. This text is very, very tiny. Moreover, more life or feeling than one is accustomed to is frightening to the person because it threatens to overwhelm his ego, flood his boundaries, and undermine his identity. Being more alive and having more feeling is scary. I work with a young man whose body was very unalive. It was tight and contracted. His eyes were dull, his skin color shallow, his breathing shallow. By breathing deeply and doing some of the therapeutic exercises, his body began to become more alive. His eyes brightened, his color improved. He felt tingling sensations in parts of his body, and his legs began to vibrate. But then he said to me, "Man, this is too much life. I can't stand it." I believe that to some degree, we are all in the same situation as this young man. We want to be more alive and feel more, but we are afraid of it. Our fear of life is seen in the way we keep busy so as not to feel guilty as charged. Continuing with the reading, keep running so as not to have to face ourselves, or get high on liquor or drugs so as to not sense our being. Because we are afraid of life, we seek to control or master it. We believe that it is bad or dangerous to be carried away with our emotions. We admire the person who is cool, who acts without feeling. Our hero is James Bond, secret agent 007, guilty as charged. The emphasis in our culture is upon doing and achieving. The modern individual is committed to being successful, not being a person. He belongs rightly to the action generation whose motto is do more, feel less. This attitude characterizes much of modern sexuality: more action but less passion. Regardless of how well we perform, we are failures as people. I believe that most of us sense the failure in ourselves. We are dimly aware of the pain, anguish, and despair that lie just below the surface. But we are determined to overcome our weaknesses, to override our fears, and to surmount our anxieties. So, this is why books on self improvement or how to do it are so popular. Unfortunately, these efforts are bound to fail. Being a person is not something one can do, it's not a performance. It may require that we stop our frantic busyness, that we take time out to breathe and to feel. In the process, we may feel our pain, but if we have the courage to accept it, we will also have pleasure. If we can face our inner emptiness, we will find fulfillment. If we can go through despair, we will discover joy. In this therapeutic undertaking, we may need help. It is the fate of modern man to be neurotic. No, is it the fate of modern men to be neurotic, to be afraid of life? My answer is yes. If we define modern man as a member of a culture whose dominant values are power and progress. Since these values characterize Western culture in the 20th century, it follows that every person who grows up in this culture is neurotic. The neurotic individual is in conflict with himself. Part of his being is trying to overcome another part. His ego is trying to master his body, his rational mind, to control his feelings, his will, to overcome his fears and anxieties. Through this, though this conflict is in large part unconscious, its effect is to deplete the person's energy and to destroy his peace of mind. I'd like to make a reference to combat and to destroy his peace of mind. Neurosis is internal conflict. The neurotic character takes many forms, but all of them involve a struggle in the individual between what he is and what he believes he should be. Every neurotic individual is caught in a struggle. What does such a state of in How does such a state of internal conflict arise? Why is the fate of modern man to suffer from these conflicts? In the individual case, neurosis arises within the context of a family situation, but the family situation reflects the cultural one, since the family is subject to all forces in the society of which it is a part. To understand the existential condition of modern man, is to know his fate. We must investigate the sources of conflict in the culture. We are familiar with some conflicts in our culture. For example, we talk about peace, but we prepare for war. We advocate conservation, but we ruthlessly exploit the natural resources for economic gain. We are committed to goals of power and progress, yet we want pleasure, peace of mind, and stability. We don't realize that power and pleasure are opposing values, that the former often produces the latter. We don't realize that power and pleasure are opposing values, and that the former often produces the latter. Power inevitably Power inevitably leads to a struggle for its possession, which often pits father against son, brother against brother. It is a divisive force in a community. Progress denotes a constant activity to change the old in the new, under the belief that the new way is superior to the old. While this may be true in some technical areas, it is a dangerous belief. By extension, it implies that the son is superior to the father, or that of the tradition is merely dead weight of the past. There are cultures in which other values dominate, where respect for the past and for tradition is more important than the desire for change. In these cultures, conflict is minimized and neurosis is rare. Parents and representatives of a culture have the responsibility to inspire their children with the values of the culture. They make demands upon children in terms of attitude and behavior that are designed to fit into the social and cultural matrix. On one hand, the child resists these demands because they amount to domestication of his animal nature. He must be broken in to make him part of the system. On the other hand, the child wishes to comply with these demands to keep love and approval of his parents. The outcome depends upon the nature of the demands and the way in which they are reinforced. With love and understanding, it is possible to teach the child the customs and practices of culture without breaking his spirit. Unfortunately, in most cases, the process of adapting the child to the culture does break his spirit, which makes him neurotic and afraid of life. The central issue in the process of cultural adaptation is the control of sexuality. There is no culture that does not impose some restraint, uh, some restraint on sexual behavior. Restraint seems necessary to prevent disorder from developing within a community. Human beings are jealous creatures and prone to violence. Even the most primitive societies, Even in the most primitive societies, the bond of marriage is sacred. But the conflict arises from such a restriction are eternal to the personality. In Western culture, the practice has been taken to the person feel guilty about sexual feelings and sexual practices like masturbation that in no way threaten the peace of mind of a community. When guilt or shame are attached to feelings, the conflict is internalized and creates a neurotic character. When guilt or shame attached to the feelings, when guilt or shame are attached to feelings, the conflict is internalized and creates a neurotic character. And that's also a very interesting point. Incest is taboo in all human societies, but the sexual feeling of a child from a parent of the opposite sex are reprehensible only in modern societies. Such feelings are believed to pose a danger to the exclusive right a parent of a parent to the sexual affection of a partner. The child is seen as a rival by the parent of the same sex. Although no incest occurs, the child is made to feel guilty for his most natural feelings and desire. When Ford investigates the cause of emotional problems in his patients through analysis, he found that in all cases they involved infantile or childhood sexuality, in particular sexual feelings for the parent of the opposite sex. He also found that associated with these incestuous feelings were death wishes towards the parent of the same sex. Noting the parallel with the legend of Oedipus, sorry, doing a physical and the chemicals is coming up a bit. um, how long am I going? Okay, that's cool. He found associated with these feelings a definition for the same parent. Nothing in the parallel. Uh, Nothing the parallel with the legend of Oedipus, he describes the child's situation as Oedipal. He believed that if a boy did not suppress his sexual feelings for his mother, he would suffer the fate of Oedipus. Namely, he would kill his father and marry his mother. To prevent the fate of the child, to prevent that fate, the child is threatened with castration if he does not repress his sexual desire and his hostile feelings. Analysis also revealed that not only were these feelings suppressed, but the Oedipal situation itself was repressed. That is, the adult had no memory of the triangle in which involved between 3 to 6 years of age. My own clinical experience confirms the observation. Few parents can recall any sexual desire for the parent. Ford believed further that this repression was necessary if the person was to establish a normal sexual life in adulthood. He thought that the repression made it possible to transfer early sexual desires from the parent to a peer. Otherwise, the person would remain fixated on the parent. Thus, for Ford, repression was the way the Oedipal complex solved the situation, allowing the child to advance through latent periods of normal adult development. If the repression was incomplete, the person became a neurotic. According to Ford, the neurotic character represents an inability to adapt to a cultural situation. According to Ford, the neurotic character represents an inability to adapt to the cultural situation. He recognizes that civilization denies the individual full instinctual gratification, but he believed that this denial was necessary for cultural progress. In effect, he accepted the idea that it was the fate of modern man to be unhappy, that fate was not a concern of psychoanalysis, which was limited to helping a person to function adequately within the cultural system. The neurosis was seen as a symptom, phobia, obsession, compulsion, melancholia, which which interfered with that functioning. William Reich had a different view. Although he studied with Freud and was a member of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society, he realized that the absence of a debilitating symptom was no criterion for emotional health. In working with neurotic patients, he found that the symptoms developed out of neurotic character structure and could be fully eliminated only if the person's character structure was changed. For Reich, it was not a question of functioning adequately in the culture, but of one's ability to give him. Oof. For Reich, it was not a question of functioning adequately in the culture, but of an individual's ability to give himself fully to sex and to work. The ability, that ability allowed the person to experience full satisfaction in his life. To the degree that his ability was lacking, the person was neurotic. Whew, this writing is so tiny. My eyes are getting tested here. In his therapeutic work, Reich focused on sexuality as the key to understanding of the character. Every neurotic person has some disturbance in his orgastic response. He could not give he could not give in fully to the involuntary, pleasurable convulsions of orgasm. He was afraid of the overwhelming feeling of total orgasm. The neurotic was orgastically impotent to some degree. If, as a result of therapy, the person gained the ability to, he became emotionally healthy. Whatever neurotic disturbances he suffered from disappeared. Further, his freedom from neurosis continued as he had reinstated his orgastic potency. I did not expect this book to jump directly so into sex, but here we are. Reich saw the connection between orgastic potency and the Oedipal problem. He claimed that neurosis had its roots in the patriarchal authoritarian family in which sexuality was repressed. Interesting. He would not accept that man was he would not accept that man was inexorably bound to an unhappy fate. He believed that a social system that denied people the full satisfaction of their instinctual needs was sick and had to be changed. In his early years as a psychoanalyst, Reich was also a social activist. However, in his later years, he came to the conclusion that neurotic people cannot change a neurotic society. I have been greatly influenced by Reich's thinking. He was my teacher from 1940 to 1953. He was my analyst from 1942 to 1945. I became a psychotherapist because I believed that his approach to human problems, both theoretically, character analysis, and technically, vegetotherapy, represented an important advance in the treatment of neurotic character. Whew, this book is deep, y'all. Character analysis was Reich's great contribution to psychoanalytic theory. For Reich, the neurotic character was a terrain in which the neurotic symptoms had developed. He believed, therefore, that the analysis should focus upon the character rather than the symptom to effect a major improvement. Vegetotherapy marked the breakthrough of the therapeutic process into the somatic realm. Reich saw that the neurosis was manifested in disturbed vegetative functioning as well as psychic conflicts. Breathing, mobility, and involuntary pleasurable moments of orgasm were markedly restricted in the neurotic individual by chronic muscular tension. He described these tensions as a process of armoring, which we read earlier, uh, of arming, which reflected the character on the somatic level. He stated that the bodily attitude of a person is functionally identical with his psychic attitude. Reich's work is the basis for my development of bioenergetic analysis, which extends Reich's idea of several important ways. So this is great. I'm going to come back to finish this and just take some time to digest it, because this was like a really interesting reading and introduction to the history of this book, where he's coming from. I did not realize that he was also a student of Reich, that they had worked together. And so this is very open to, excited to look forward into this and to see where this is going, because I definitely did not expect, I did not expect, guys, I don't know why I have like these tongue twistings lately, like, it's very difficult. I have to have a jaw surgery soon, so they say that this can also improve my speaking, so I'm hoping this will. Oh my god, I'm soaking my feet in this hydrogen peroxide thing as a healing thing. It's like a mix of some other things, and now I feel like the chemicals from the smell. I hope it's okay. My feet are not going to turn like, something weird. Hope everything is going to be okay. I think so. But my feet look. Oh, gosh. Anyway, I mean, my feet feel so much better. Your feet have so many nerve endings, and they're like a place of grounding. So, like, I've noticed when I do like these feet soaks, they really help my feet to relax more. And I just found this like hydrogen peroxide kind of mix thing with Epsom salt, and they said this can have many benefits to like open up the pores and stimulate the energy flow in your feet. And so this has nothing at all to do with the book that I just read, but it's also just helping me to feel much more relaxed, some self-care, because I had been putting off caring for my feet for a long time. But your feet are so important because they are the mechanism by which you ground, and there are so many nerve endings on the feet that can help you reset your nervous system, relax, regulate your body. And obviously, because your feet are, what you use for standing, moving, walking, it also has trickle effects up your body, So if you change something on your feet, it has effects up your body. So if you have flat feet, for example, that will cause issues with your ankle, and your ankle issues and feet issues with the flat feet will cause issues with your knees, and your knee issues will cause issues with your hips and pelvis, and that will impact the way that you stand, and the way you stand can also impact your jaw and how cause your teeth to get. So it's like, all of that can start at the feet, and it just trickles up your body. And so it's very important, guys, to take care of your feet. I just did like my little routine today. I might go take a little walk and then, come back and do like a second round, because I definitely feel the difference. Oh, my feet feel so relaxed right now after that. So yeah, anyway, guys, I'll see you for the next reading. And we'll be back to check out more of this book because I'm really enjoying it. I did not expect it to take that left turn into sexuality so directly, but yeah, here we are. And it's a pretty good timing for that anyway. So I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you soon. Take care.